Fields of Mistria is, I think, one of the most awaited 1.0 releases in recent indie cozy farm sim history. Its early access captured a lot of cozy gamers' attention, myself included, and now Mistria's 1.0 is finally here. Chad for Game8 here. As a fan of cozy farm games, it's a little hard to put this one down. It does quite a few things differently from other cozy farm sims that make it a lot cozier and less stressful than, for example, Stardew Valley, the biggest cozy farm game now. At the same time, it treads the line very well so that it doesn't make it boring either. We've had a few cozy games come through that couldn't walk that fine line in my opinion. With that said, let's dive into what makes Fields of Mistria worth playing. Mistria starts out like most cozy farming games. A little old town needs your help getting back on its feet, and you swoop in and revitalize the town, basically. A terrible earthquake struck Mistria and it's been in decline ever since. You were contacted to help out with restoring the farmland and aiding in the various tasks that will repair the town's infrastructure and facilities. Again, typical cozy farm game. Mistria does have its own little spin on it as Mistria takes on more of a fantasy setting. The more you restore the land, and especially the more you explore the mines, the more you uncover the mystical secrets that Mistria holds. If I were to put Mistria on a scale of Harvest Moon to Rune Factory, Mistria definitely leans more towards Rune Factory on the fantasy or not scale. If you want to compare with Stardew, I'd say Mistria is closer to Rune Factory's fantasy vibes than Stardew is. The story related to the mines gets a little more interesting the more you dive deeper, and I really wanted to know more. Of course, the pacing of it depends on what you focus on in your farm life. You'd definitely be seeing more of a gap in the mines portion of the story if you focused more on farming or fishing, or even just upping your bond levels with the townspeople rather than the mines. So in terms of pacing, the story is more your mileage may vary compared to other more linear games. One of the most charming things about Mistria is its characters. I've said it in a video before, but these cozy farm sims are all about simulating a comfy, slow life in a small town. A big part of getting that down right is the feeling of belongingness in a community, and the residents of Mistria are welcoming, interesting, and colorful characters. They make you feel like you belong right off the bat, maybe except March, at least at the start. And then they also have context-sensitive dialogue. Villagers will comment on where you are in the story, what you've done for the community recently, or even what bond event you were in recently. For example, if you put a bug on display in the museum, Luke, one of the kids who loves bugs, will say that they saw the display and maybe even give you additional information about said bug. It's a small thing, but the small things matter. It makes you feel like you're making a difference in their small community and makes you feel like you're appreciated, therefore making you feel like you belong, therefore making it nice and cozy. The town even has this thing where they gather in the inn every Friday and talk to each other, and there's like a mini story arc that progresses after each week as well. This also adds a lot of personality to the characters, making them feel more alive and feel as if they have their own lives outside of talking to you, oh great protagonist. Speaking of bond events, that also plays a big part in making the story and characters fun. Marriage candidates will have separate events that trigger every 2 hearts you get on the bond gauge. This lets you see stories that allow you to know more about said character, their motivations and goals. Of course, you gotta know who you're signing the marriage papers with, yeah? Each of the characters has their own quirks, motivations, and distinct personalities. What's interesting is some of these events also feature other people in the town, so it serves as another way you could get to know the rest of the town as well. Funnily enough, my preferred romance partners had beef, Dr. Valen and Juniper. It was very interesting to know that they had this little petty rivalry and would appear in each other's stories sometimes. An interesting duo for headcanons and fanfics, surely. You can also enter in all of the romance storylines if you so choose, without any Persona 5 style consequences or anything like that. The catch being that once you actually choose someone to marry, all the other romance partners get set back to friend. Similar to what you'd find in Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, for example. I just kinda wish that non-romance candidates had their own relationship events. Of course, there's more importance with knowing the marriage candidates because, well, marriage, but I wish we got to know the other villagers more intimately as well, especially since there are rumors of a love triangle somewhere in the village. Hopefully we can get something like this in subsequent updates of the game. The gameplay is also pretty solid. A lot of the basic mechanics will feel similar to you if you've played 1 or 2 cozy farm sims before. You're given land, you use that land to take care of crops and animals, use the profit from the crops and animals to improve your farm, all while trying to get along with the townsfolk and fulfilling requests. One of the main goals is to raise the town's rank. This is done through shipping and selling items, turning in requests from the request board, finishing main quests, and donating items and artifacts to the museum. It kinda reminds me of Grand Bazaar's Bazaar rank system in how it gives you something to shoot for other than just aimlessly farming and upgrading your farm. The more you up your rank, the more opportunities you gain, like more repair projects and even more rewarding requests. You even get stamina upgrades among other items whenever you reach a certain level. One of the things that I appreciate about Mistria is how less stressful and more laid back its gameplay is compared to some of its contemporaries. There are a lot of QOLs that make Mistria a way more lean back and zen your way through the day experience. Shops are open all the time, so you don't have to wait for Marnie to stop the mayor and come back to the counter to serve you. Overuse of tools doesn't make you pass out, it just bars you from using them when you're at 0 stamina. You are still given a 2 AM bedtime, or else you pass out and wake up late and tired. When you're crafting or cooking, you have access to all of your storage items, so you don't have to constantly walk back and forth to fetch your necessary items. The economy is fairly generous as crops offer healthy returns, making it easy to reinvest in new crops while expanding the farm. Fishing is also a lot simpler. While I like the fishing in Stardew, it turns out not everyone shares my opinion, and some people absolutely hate Stardew's fishing enough to mod it out of the game. There are a lot of people who complain about how hectic some cozy games are, and I think Mistria strikes a great balance between laid back and engaging. The combat portion of the game is also a little bit better than some of its predecessors. With Stardew Valley, for most enemies, except the mummy, just whacking them does the job. With Mistria, enemy attack patterns actually make you change the way you deal with certain enemies and aren't just brute force all the time. For example, there are enemies that you have to reflect the projectiles of, or else you make negligible damage. There's the mushroom enemy that will not be damaged until the moment it decides to attack you and become vulnerable. These enemies also get stronger variations the more you progress into the mines, but equipment and skills are there to help you deal with the stronger enemies. The equipment and skill system is actually fairly linear and doesn't have much variation. If that's what you want, Rune Factory would be more your style, or even surprisingly, the Hololive cozy game. But what Mistria has does enough that it gives you a good sense of progression. Again, maybe they can consider build and equipment variation for future updates. The skill system gives off a sense of holistic growth, as the points you need to obtain skills in combat, farming, animal rearing, foraging, etc. are shared, so the work you put into combat may yield improvements in your farm life as well, and vice versa. One thing that's a little frustrating with its gameplay, however, is the RNG of the mines, forgeables, and anything you need for the mines basically. If you're unlucky, what you need will take a while to show up, and if you're really unlucky, you'll need those items to open up the next portion of the mines and your progress will be stalled a bit. The visuals are definitely a huge part of the appeal of this game. Its soft colors are easy on the eyes, creating that relaxed, cozy feel. The 90s inspired character design is nostalgic and really takes me back to my childhood as someone who grew up with anime like Sailor Moon, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Cardcaptor Sakura. Each character also feels unique and matches their design quite well. The game also has a lot of options for dressing your character up, as well as decorating and making your farm pretty and matching your style. While the game does not feature voice acting, the audio is still pretty good and provides you with a healthy variety of tracks to accompany your cozy farm life. The tracks do a good job of blending in with the background, but sound really good when you have the brain space to actually listen intently. My favorites have to be the summer themes, because as a bass player, I very much appreciate those fat bass lines. The fact that each marriage candidate also has a dedicated theme is a detail not lost on me and is highly appreciated. So, Fields of Mistria. I think it's shaping up to be the next big cozy game mainstay. Its story is intriguing and kept me wanting to know more, motivating me to keep going down the mines. The characters are endearing. They did a great job of adding context-sensitive dialogue for the townsfolk, making conversation with them feel dynamic and reactive to your actions in the town. They also made the townsfolk feel alive by giving us scenes where they would talk to each other, showing that they have a life outside of you. The gameplay hits that sweet spot of being a more relaxing experience compared to Stardew, while still being engaging enough that it's hard to put down. Although we have some complaints with regards to the RNG of the forageables and the mines and the lack of bond events for non-marriageable characters, I do have hopes that future content can add some features that we want to see. All of this for just $13.99 USD is crazy value. So if you're a cozy game lover, just give this game a whirl yourself. With all that being said, we're giving Fields of Mistria a 90. So enough about our yapping. What do you think of Fields of Mistria? Who is your favorite character and why? Feel free to tell us in the comments below. Thanks for watching, like if you like, subscribe for more video game reviews and other video game related content. This has been Chat for Game8, hope to catch you in the next one.